Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, hi, my name is May and thank you for being here. In this video, we'll discuss everything about temperature blankets. So I have written down some questions on my phone and we'll discuss them together. So I have my beverage and we can start. First question is, what is a temperature blanket? Well, a temperature blanket is a blanket which you can crochet or knit, and you do one row or one anything for that day. So you can choose to make for example, you make a regular size blanket, maybe a one person, queen size, king size, whatever you want. You make a regular size blanket. So you can choose to do one row for a certain color of that day. So you have different types of colors that you pick and you match the colors to the certain temperature range that is common for the place you want to make your temperature blanket. A temperature blanket does not necessarily need to be only for the temperatures. You can also do it to track like different types of weathers, for example, storm, snow, rain, sunshine, cloudiness. You can do it that way. I've also seen on TikTok other people, they were making it for what they leave in the toilet, so to say. And that was also really interesting. People also make like a mood blanket, so they have to have different colors depending on what mood they were that day. So it's a wide concept. It's basically you just crochet or knit one color each day. So then the next question is, how do I choose the colors for my temperature blanket? So you decide what range you want to have your temperatures to be. So for example, I have mine here and this is my color chart. And I've ranged my temperature from 35 degrees Celsius, anything above 35 degrees Celsius, up until everything below -5 degrees Celsius. And then I said to myself, okay, I want to have about 10 colors. I want to have 10 colors, so I divided that range nicely into the colors that I think into the temperatures that I think will be a good range. So I think I have them each like 4 or 5 degrees separated, and then I hanged the colors corresponding to the temperature so that when I look at it and I see what temperature it is, I know exactly which color to use. So the reason why I used 10 different colors is because I do 2 colors a day. And that leads me into the next question, which is, should I track the highest or lowest temperature of each day? So it doesn't matter. You can do the average temperature each day. So you have the lowest temperature, the highest temperature, you add them up, you divide them by 2. You have your average temperature of that day. You can do the lowest temperature if you want that. You can do the highest temperature if you want that. This year is my second year that I'm making a temperature blanket, and the first year was last year, and I've done an average. This year I have the highest and the lowest. So for the average, I found that for the average I'm not using my warmest temperature color, which is a shame because I think I had like 6 colors, and you're not using all of the 6 colors then. You're more likely using 4 colors. So that was where I was like, yeah, it's kind of a waste, so to say. So this year I decided to, first of all, make hexagons. So each day is 1 hexagon. Why did I decide to do that? Because it would be easier for me to carry my work on the go. If I have a big blanket, I'm not able to carry that on the go if we're like in halfway the year, so to say. It would be too big, so I would be stuck at home and doing that. So that's why I decided this year to go for hexagons. And I've done 2 different types of colors because I just like the way that looks. If I would look at my blanket and I would see all these different colors, I would know like, oh, that day was a warm day because all the colors are the same, or that evening was like a specifically cool evening because it's like my coolest color. And that's how I decided it. So you can do whatever you want. And also, what I forgot to mention is you don't have to start 1st of January. You can start, for example, on your anniversary for whatever it is that you want to commemorate. You can do a birthday, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do it for the current year. You can also do it, for example, for your anniversary year or for a specific type of year that made a good difference in your life, for example. Or if you want to gift it to someone, certain year, or maybe your birth year, it can be completely up to you. So how do I find the temperature of each day? Well, I used an online weather website. I think it's weather.com or something like that, or past temperature, something like that. And what I've done, because I moved to a different area than what my temperature blanket of last year was. So I just did a bit of Google search and figured out what the high and what the low temperature was on average for each month for where I'm living right now. So with that information, I got to the plus 35 and minus 5 degrees, and that range would be good for me. So because if I would go above 40, I would most likely not be using those colors that often, at least I hope. So then you have the starter ready for your temperature blanket. And then each day going forward, either if you're doing a temperature blanket in the current year, you can just, in your weather app, either Google or whatever weather app you have, you can just write down the temperature of that day. Or if you want to do like a past weather, you can always like just Google past temperature, and then the website will bring you back like a couple of years. I currently am very behind on my temperature blanket, so last year I used to track like every single day what temperature it is, but at a certain point I would forget. So now what I just do, I write down for like a week at a time, for example, on what temperature there are. Like I go to the past temperature on Google and I just look what temperature was wherever I was on that specific day. Next question: can I use different stitches for my temperature blanket? Of course you can do different stitches of your temperature blanket. I've already discussed it a bit, that I'm doing hexagon. You can do granny square, for example. You can do regular single crochet, you can do double crochet, you can do like specific stitch patterns if you want that. You can even do, let's say you're making a mood blanket, and then for happy you do the stitch that makes you super happy to do. For example, maybe it's like a bubble stitch or like an iris stitch or so, whichever one you really love, like your favorite stitch. And then maybe if you're in like a sad mood, or then you can do a stitch that doesn't really bring much joy, for example. So you also have different textures within your blanket. So yeah, you can make it whatever you want. Next question: what size should my temperature blanket be? So it can be very customizable. You can make a baby blanket, you can just make like a big granny square, so each round of the granny square is a different color. So it also doesn't become that big, but it will be more of a square instead of a rectangular blanket. So yeah, you just need to make sure on what you want, and then you need to do a bit of math to know how many stitches or how many chains, and then how many rows you need to do, or how long your stitches would be for the amount of rows, so 365 rows. Or 366, depending what year you do it. So for my first temperature blanket, I did a moss stitch, I believe. and I just found on a website, I just found a pattern for a blanket, regular size blanket. I'm like, okay, if I do one stitch or like one row of those stitch, it would be approximately, I think, 1 centimeter or so, or I don't know, I wouldn't know, but I think less than maybe half a centimeter. So then if I would make 365 rows, now if I measured it, it would be like 1 meter 80, 90 long, I believe. So that's what you need to consider. So that's what I did. I just grabbed a pattern, did the amount of chains that that pattern required, and then made it for the rest of the year. The next question, can I start a temperature blanket at any time during the year? I've already discussed it a bit, so I'll be briefly. Of course you can. You can start at any time of the year that you want. You can start for your anniversary, beginning of the year, end of the year, middle of the year, whatever you want. You can even do half a year temperature blanket or half a year mood blanket, whatever. If that's what you want, that's what you want. Next question. Can I make a smaller version of a temperature blanket? Yes. Basically, the answer to any question is yes. So you can make a temperature blanket, of course, that might cover a single bed, double bed, but if you're beginning and maybe you're a beginner crocheter, that might be a little daunting. So you could do a temperature scarf. So you do one row of the scarf in each color, or you make like a wall hanging, or you start with like a seasonal blanket or a monthly blanket, so it doesn't become too long and you can keep your attention. Is it possible to personalize the temperature blanket? Yes. Yeah, like I mentioned, you can do different types of stitches for certain rows, or maybe you have special events, or maybe a milestone you want to add. You can, or want to highlight. I know someone, they had like a very thin, like glittery yarn, so they put that one through special events, so that when they look at it, like that one little row sparkles a bit, and then they know, okay, this day had special meaning to me. Can I create a temperature blanket for a different location? Yes, you can. You can do it for any location that you want, maybe the location you were born at, the location you're living in currently. I am doing the location where I physically am. So if I travel somewhere, I'll use that location. If I'm just at home, I'll use that location. If I'm visiting someone, like if I'm visiting someone for the day who doesn't live in my hometown, I just do my hometown, because I'm leaving from my house and I'm coming back to my house the same day. But if I'm like staying over at someone's place, I will use that temperature. What material of yarn should I use for my temperature blanket? I have seen many people use acrylic, or people also use different sort of yarns, different types of yarns in one blanket. That's also possible, of course. Last year I've used acrylic, and I've noticed that in the winter it's good. It's a good winter blanket. But if you're if you're crocheting it in the summer, you have like half your blanket finished by June, July-ish. So if you're busy with it in the summer, you'll get sweaty, because this acrylic is warm, so it's covering you basically. So in the winter it's no problem. For this year, I've opted to do cotton, because in the summer, one hexagon being cotton just easily goes through. I have noticed that since I'm doing cotton, basically I'm creating a weighted blanket because it is so heavy, but it's breathable. So now if I would be attaching all my hexagons together on my main blanket, at least I'm not sweating through the yarn. So that's what you need to consider yourself. Also, acrylic is cheap to come by, and it's a good starter for me personally. Next question, how can I keep myself accountable with my temperature blanket? So because it's a very long process, it's a year's project if you're not behind like I am. It might take you a bit longer, but how I keep myself accountable is I have a group chat with my sister and my mom, and they are also doing a temperature blanket. So whenever I feel like either they need to pick me up or I need to pick me up, we just send pictures of our temperature blanket in the group chat. And I know my sister I think she's very far behind. I think last year she lost her temperature blanket because she was moving, so she didn't even finish it. I don't even think she got halfway at this point. And my mom did finish hers. I did not finish mine. I left it off. I think I have 5 rows left to do for my December or for my last year temperature blanket. And yeah, so my husband keeps telling me, when are you gonna finish that? When are you gonna finish that? So yeah, it's laying under the couch right now. We have like a storage compartment under the couch, so it's laying in there at the moment. But I think at least past the winter or past the summer, I will get it out and finish it, because it's acrylic. It gets so warm in the summer. I don't want to be dealing with that today. But yeah, just have like multiple people around you keeping you accountable. Like, oh, have you done your temperature for the day? Have you done your daily crochet? Yeah, group chats, maybe family members that's living in your house or house members. They can keep you accountable. Maybe follow some crocheters on either Instagram or TikTok that they post like daily temperature blanket updates or weekly, monthly, whatever, that you can give them a follow, and then they will also help you keep you accountable, because maybe you'll get motivated for seeing their updates and you're like, oh yeah, I need to do mine also. One more thing, I just do my temperature blanket wherever I go. I just have a small bag with all my yarn in it and my temperature chart and my notes where I keep track of the temperature each day. I just have that all in a little bag, and whenever we go somewhere that's longer than 20-30 minutes by car, I just take it with me. If I go out with friends, like to a park, just chill, or anywhere like the beach or something, I just take it along. And it might be uncomfortable, crocheting in public, but at the end of the day, if they are your friends, they won't judge you for it, first of all. And second of all, if random people outside see you and they're judging, you won't see them again. They might even admire you for crocheting out in public because they haven't thought about it, or they might be too scared to do it. So I've had that. I went to the beach with some friends and I brought my crochet stuff because I don't want to go into the water. It was like late in the evening. I don't want to deal with that. So I just brought my crochet stuff, some stuff I had to do for my Etsy shop, and some like my temperature blanket. So I just brought that, and I heard from multiple people who also are into crochet, like, oh, if I knew you brought your stuff, I would also bring my stuff. I'm like, I bring my stuff everywhere basically. I always have my bag either on the couch or so that I can just easily grab it when we go somewhere and take it along with me. And I also feel that I don't like sitting around not doing anything. So instead of endlessly scrolling on TikTok, for example, or Instagram, or watching YouTube, I do my temperature blanket also. So I give myself the time to relax, put on a video, put on YouTube, put on a series or whatever, and just crochet, so that I'm not, I can't monotask in that sense. If I watch something, I can't just sit there. Either I'll fall asleep or time will go by that I haven't used properly. And since I'm so far behind, I like to, yeah, multitask in that sense. So yeah, some tips and tricks. Make it easy for yourself. If it's your first time, don't challenge yourself in a very big blanket. Either make the scarf, you can make a pillowcase, just keep it nice and simple. Then second tip, keep track. Keep track of the days you have done. If you're really consistent in doing it every single day, just either mark in your calendar like done, put in a task in your calendar that you need to crochet it, and then mark it as done, so that you know how many rows you've already done, and that if you fall behind, you know where you have left off. My third tip is track it via like weather thing. Either take a screenshot of the weather so you have it in your gallery, or use the Google websites to take track of the past temperatures. So I just have like a card and I write down all the temperatures, and then I put a check mark for the ones that I have crocheted, and then I put a line through it to know that I have crocheted the hexagon in my blanket itself, so that I know if I look at all my stack of hexagons, I know, okay, I need to crochet them onto my blanket right now, or I need to crochet hexagons individually. So that's another tip. Reach out to a community which will help you, or which will motivate you. So surround yourself with people who are also crocheting, who maybe are also doing temperature blanket, and that will keep you accountable than if you are doing it by yourself or you don't have anyone, you know, supporting you. And then lastly, just have fun. You know, you're doing crochet because you love it, or knitting a blanket, but for me it's crochet because you love it. If you're not feeling to crochet today, don't worry about it. Just write down the temperature and get back to it tomorrow. Maybe you're falling sick. Don't force yourself to do this. Just take it easy, have fun, and at the end of a time, you will have a completed blanket. So that was it. That was everything temperature blanket wise. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comment below. I will get back to you on that as soon as possible. And yeah, if you like this video, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe, because that really helps out my channel. And also maybe let me know what type of other videos you would like to see from me. And then yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.